Greetings, Mindcrafters, and welcome to another exciting Minecraft discussion. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I'm super pumped to do this video today. I'm hoping my neighbor's incessant beeping doesn't continue to go off. It's actually good talk for today. He's actually super nice, but he's got a business, so it's just the beeping with the landscaping stuff goes on all day. So it's like actually probably a really good example of this because he's a nice guy. It's just you have to work with it. Okay, so live and let live. This is what I wanted to talk about today. Live and let live. And as you know, I'm a big fan of the 12-step programs. I was around that a lot as a kid. And there's just a lot of good one-liners. And this is another one. Live and let live. Stop caring about what other people are saying and doing. It doesn't mean sometimes it has to have a conversation or whatever or step out of it. But not to let it in your headspace is really what we're talking about. And it can be so easy to become focused and even wrapped up in what other people are saying or doing, and he said, she said, meh, 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 that, again, it takes over our headspace, which means that basically we are handing over our very valuable, very precious life minutes on a silver platter, or even let's say gold platter, beautiful Italian china, whatever. Like, it's like, here you go. And so this is obviously a form of self-abandonment, and there is nothing worse you can do to yourself than abandon you. That's just how it is. So, and in previous episodes, like I'm talking about a very long time ago, maybe a year, even two, I did a whole thing on Shenpa. So some of you sort of consistent listeners may remember that. It's a Sanskrit word that I don't think has any kind of a direct translation. But basically, it's when somebody says something to try to get your goat, if you've heard that expression. And it's Shenpa describes that feeling of, where you've just got to react and say something. I think we can all relate to that. And the minute we bite that Shenpa hook, though, we most often it's a gets a piece of us. That's self-abandonment. We're kind of like, because we're caring more about whoever said whatever, than we are caring about us. We're caring more about what they think than when we think. We're wrapped up in what's out here, what's external. So, and it takes a piece. Yeah, we might react in that moment and it's got this much of satisfaction. It feels really good in that minute, that millisecond, but after a while, not so much because it escalates usually, right? Okay, so when we do this, when we bite that hook, right, and when we get into caring about what other people are saying or doing, we are also sacrificing. You're also sacrificing your own happiness and fulfillment, and obviously inner peace. And so, um, just like we've mentioned before, authenticity is on the inside. The ego's all wrapped up in what's out here. So when we get wrapped up in that, kind of biting that hook, we're caving into the ego and the ego's need for all that external reinforcement, that need to be liked, that need to be approved of, that need for the kudos, that need for the acknowledgement, which is a big, huge step backwards from the authentic self. And we've talked about that with the authentic self. And the ego is the evil twin of the authentic self, right? Remember, for the authentic person, doesn't mean we don't like to hear good things. We don't like to be liked, and somebody says something nice and a compliment, and get an award. Of course we do, but we don't need it. We don't go looking for it. That's the difference, versus chasing the ego-driven, craving for that, which is a whole different thing. And when we do that, we end up sacrificing our own happiness, our fulfillment, and maybe even be completely miserable, because when we place all that need out here, that means we're dependent and who says or does whatever out here for us to be happy, which is absolutely not what we want. And when we shift away from caring about I just want to do this big I don't care dance, which I have done in my living room, actually, on top of the coffee table, usually dancing to Aretha with a spatula. That's my power song. Think and also respect. Everybody should have a power song. But anyway, it's so liberating. So when we can step out of that sort of compulsive need, because it can become compulsive as far as what other people are saying and doing, it, and it can be difficult. This is like what I do with my Minecrafters, right? Is it that simple? Yes, we can just detach. It's that simple. Just detach and stop caring. It is that simple. Is it that easy? No one said that. Okay. And like anything, it takes practice. Whenever we practice, we inevitably get better at. When we shift away from caring about what people say and what they think, it frees us up incredibly. And all that space is then available. And I know that Wayne Dyer has talked about this specifically with when he was doing a lot of writing. I love Wayne Dyer. If you don't listen to him, start now. He's great. He's since passed too early, but he has left his mark on the world, that's for sure. Writing, and I'm a writer myself. I've written several books a long time ago, and I'm actually working on another one. I love to write. I write for Psychology Today, blah, 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 blah. I could really relate when I was listening to him talk about this, that when he first, I don't know if it was his first book or it happened over and over, I'm not sure, but he reflected on feeling this way and thinking these thoughts, because thoughts first, feeling second, right? When he was writing one of his books, let's just say that, he temporarily got very wrapped up into and roped into thinking, oh, how will my book be received? What about the ratings? What about the sales? How will it do overall? And maybe can I get some speaking engagements out of it? Whatever. And he stopped in that minute, which is what I'm saying that you do and I do and we all do. When we're in that millisecond moment of shifting into that what's out here, approval and sales and ratings and all that other crapola, to really stop, like, what am I doing? Because that's all ego driven. No matter how successful you are with whatever, that particular thing is ego driven. He stepped out of it and he said, what am I doing? And he stepped back into the whole reason he started writing in the first place, which is anybody who loves writing like I do and like Wayne Dyer did, and anybody else who just loves writing, you know that the book writes itself, the article writes itself. You're kind of like just the vehicle. I'm not trying to sound cheesy, it's just true. I have another book in me trying right now to write itself, and it is. But you don't just sit down and force it. It doesn't work like that. So the irony here, I guess, is when we let go of all that push and outcome-based stuff, and that, forcing things. Oh, there went the notes. So there we go. That's a good example. I think. Thanks, Wayne. I think he just kind of took care of that. We let go of the forcing of that and the ego-driven stuff. The writing thing, I'm in the flow zone, and Wayne Dyer talked about being in the flow zone as well, which is based on the work. I talked about him before too. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi came up with that theory of cognitive flow, which means it's just authentic joy. And it's kind of that do what you love and the money will follow thing too, but it's just you're doing whatever it is you're doing, whether it's writing, whether you're Michael Phelps swimming, whether you're playing in a band in the garage on the weekends that you start in the morning with your friends, or you're playing guitar, writing songs by yourself, and then you look out the door and it's dark, like where'd that time go kind of thing. Or hours and hours go by and you lose all track of time. You lose track of self, and not meeting in a codependent way, but in a part of the universe. You're at one with the piano, you're at one with the paper, you're at one with the pool, whatever. And that's what truth flow is. It's not just happy. It's way more elevated than that. It's a state of consciousness where you're in the zone. And I have absolutely experienced that on numerous occasions. Writing, speaking, making videos, teaching, workshops, all that stuff. And Wayne Dyer says the same thing. And he also says that we can, and also speaking. I want to make a because he did too. I feel that way with speaking too, because actually I have a small speaking engagement next week. It's a little one, but I'm glad that I revisited this, because I'm not a super note person with speaking. I kind of make a few bullets and then I just let it roll. And it's important for me, as Wayne said too, and another very good friend of mine, Dr. Dave Landers, is one of the best speakers ever, and we've talked about this, and he always starts with a few bullets, and he says on how many years he was doing it, 30 plus, I don't even know, and he said the high majority of the time the notes stayed right there back in the day on the old school tablet, and then eventually, and it just did, because you get off track and you're just in the zone, and it just, and in my opinion, and with the speaking engagements I've seen, when people are glued to the notes and the PowerPoint, they can be good, but not usually as much than that person who interjects stories and some spontaneous humor, and it kind of brings the content, kind of like a good wine tasting. You pair the wine with the main course really well, it brings the flavor forth. That's my example, because when you let your authentic self just roll, and I'm not saying don't plan anything, have a basic idea, but when you really just let it happen and step out, just step out of it, the flow current just takes over, and the flavor sort of naturally comes forth. And so letting go of the external outcomes, which is what we were talking about with the live and let live thing earlier, just happens. So we're all glued to what he said, she says, they said. All that cognitive space, that cognitive energy, your valuable life minutes are going down the drain. And this stuff, what we're talking about with writing and speaking and fill in the blank with whatever you do, writing that children's book, decorating your house, whatever it is you're into, it just robs us of life minutes, and it just takes up so much space. Think of a computer that's been slowed down by viruses, and it just makes that circle. It's like, okay, let's go. Same sort of thing. And so doing the live and let live thing brings us inner peace. It allows that happiness to come forth, allows the inner peace to come forth, allows authentic fulfillment to come forth, and it's just freeing. So I think of it the other way. I think Wayne Dyer talked about this too. We can, not only can we detach, live and let live, we can also kind of put a positive spin. We can put a positive spin really on most things, really. There's a bless in the mess, usually. We can put a positive spin on also being with gratitude, right? So grateful. And he talks about, steering away, when we steer away from what he said, she said, they said, what they're doing, not just what they're saying, but also just what their job is, what their accomplishments are. It doesn't have to be like that, all the gossipy negative stuff. It can also be sticking our nose in their gift bag, so to speak. They've got their own gift bag. And for me, my gifts are definitely creativity, genuine love of engaging with people. And, I'm completely at home when I'm flying across the stage, whether that's in the classroom or it's at a workshop, speaking at some big thing, and also writing too, and delivering positivity messages everywhere. And so when we go sticking our nose in somebody else's gift bag and they do something entirely different, think about with gratitude, how grateful you are to not be doing that. So for me, I just told you what I love to do, and I'm just on fire with it. I just love people. I love the whole positivity thing. I love to make a difference and elevate people, through all those ways, and article writing, all of it. Somebody else who, let's say, is accountants, we need them. I would die a slow death as an accountant, plus mess up everybody's taxes and everything else. Being an IT person, basically sitting at a desk doing anything all day would have me have me ready to shrivel up and die before the day was over, because that's not my gift bag. And so we can switch, instead of sticking our nose in other people's gift bags and accomplishments and everything that's going on and well in their life, just send them a love. Grateful that that's you, that you're the IT person, you're the accountant, you're the whatever, and I get to do this stuff, because this is what I do. No sooner than that IT person or librarian, just pick something that's opposite of you. No, and no, the same way, they wouldn't want to be doing whatever it is that you do so well and all the accomplishments that you've done. So the live and let live thing has a bunch of different levels. And again, I really, really love the 12-step program, and I very much admire the folks who are really working that. I was exposed to it as a kid, as I mentioned, and even at like 12, on some level, I got it. I really got it. It obviously stayed with me. I'm talking about it at 58. And I remember reading the books and stuff way back then. I'm like, wow, this is the wisdom bombs that are in there, just all over the place. It's just so great. And so main theme here is just let it all go and keep your nose in your own gift bag. Cease to care what anybody else, I don't mean in a callous way, just don't care. Do an I don't care dance. And if they are being negative and gossipy and bleh, they'll self-destruct. You don't need to involve yourself with that. Don't go down with them. That's on their karma train, not your karma train. You take the high road, throw that in the karma train moving forward, and dismiss them, detach, live and let live. Awesome. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from my beautiful backyard and deck with, I even have some peppers left still. Look at that, huh? Look at that. Okay, so, all right, enjoy your day.